Hey everyone, this is Lukas Schwekendiek, and today I want to talk to you about some things that I've done in my life that changed everything. So, I'm gonna get a little bit personal here, and you may totally skip ahead in this video if that's too personal or if you that triggers something within you. But I used to be pretty sad. In fact, at one point, I was standing there in a kitchen of my 20 square meter apartment with a knife in my hand because I got so hopeless that I did not see another way out other than ending my life. And I know this got really dark really quickly, but I just wanted to share this, and I don't want to go into a whole story about this, nor do I want to tell you about how I got there because it doesn't matter. But I want to share this with you because I know how it feels to be completely broken down. To when you get to a point where death seems like the only positive thing that you can still do, because everything in life seems so hopeless. Um, that's a pretty bad point to be at. Some of you may know this. I hope none of you do. I hope none of you have gotten down that deep because it's not a pretty place to be. But if you've encountered some sadness, if you've encountered some frustration, if you've encountered some hopelessness, it's not unlikely that if you don't do anything about it, you won't get there. Meaning that if you keep going, chances are that you might reach down that deep. And speaking from personal experience, would not recommend that at all. Been there, done that, would never do that again. Not a good thing. The only reason I'm here today is because I was too scared to go through with it that day, not because I didn't want to. And I've helped some other people, some other clients out of this before, which were 3 hour, 4 hour conversations over the phone, just really talking through them, guiding them through it. But at that moment, I had no one. Again, do not recommend it. And I want to, if you're feeling any form of sadness, hopelessness, or any negativity in your life, then hopefully these 5 things that I've done to change my life will help you in some way. The first and most important thing that I have to say here, and this is one of the things that I did as well, is get help. And I know that's cliche as hell. I know you've heard this before. When talking to therapists and psychologists, many of them say that depressed people think they're unique in their hopelessness. They're unique in their despair. They feel that their situation is so special that a trained therapist will not be able to help them because they're just too much of an individual case. And many people think that. And if you get stuck in that belief, it's really hard to get help because you don't believe it will help. I didn't. I thought I was special too. I thought that my situation was so unique that getting help would not have helped me. It might have helped 99% of people, but not me. And that's a load of crap. If you believe that right now, I wish I could reach through and slap you in the face. If that's what it would take to get you to get some help, then please get it. And I don't mean get me or get a coach for help. Right? Coaches are luxury resources. Coaches are there to aid you to do more. So this is not a self-promotion at all. Get a therapist if you're really depressed. If you're sad, get some other help. If you don't feel like you can do that, then have a friend or family member help. If you do find a coach that you can trust, then you can take them as a help, but get someone to help you. Something. You do not have to go through this alone. There's plenty of websites, plenty of resources available to you right now that you can talk to with people. Whatever you feel comfortable doing, just don't do it alone. I did it alone, and it was awful. Just don't go that with this. Please get some help. What I did after that moment, right after I couldn't go through with it, was I hired a coach, and I've been working with this coach, the same coach, on and off for the last, I think what's been now, it's 2022, so it must have been like 9 years since then. So just a lot of time, and because that's what I felt. Right? I was studying psychology at the time, and I had a little bit of a bad bias against therapists at the time, like I mentioned before, and a coach seemed much more practical to me, so I got a coach. A person on the outside can just see mistakes that you don't see. There's a reason every professional athlete has at least one coach, if not more. There's a reason most CEOs have money coaches and mastermind group that they talk to. There's reasons everybody has someone that helps them. Find someone that can help you. Ideally, someone that doesn't know you that well, someone, because they will be unbiased and they will give you tough love when you need it, where a friend might give you more comfort than you want. So, big fat underline under get some help. I did it, and it still took a while. The life coach that I got was very young. He was still in his learning process as well, and I still struggled for a good 2 years before I really got things together. Probably even longer than that, thinking about it. But that was what I could do in the moment. So please do what you can. Next thing is make a commitment for yourself to yourself. You've lived too long not giving life your best. You've wasted too many opportunities, there's been too much time going by. Isn't it about time that you really give yourself an honest shot? Who knows, maybe if you really invested into your life, maybe things would be different. If you stopped caring about all the possible consequences and you just went in. Imagine if you did that for your fitness, for instance. If you just said, screw it, you got a coach to help you, a trainer, you went to the gym every single day, even if other people tell you it's not a good idea. You changed your diet, you did the workouts, you did the research, you did everything you possibly could. You gave it an honest try. Do you really think your health will not get better? Many don't think that when it comes to their physical health, even though there are genetic factors that determine that. But when it comes to their mental health, almost everybody, just the vast majority, thinks that that wouldn't be enough because there's cases so special, as mentioned before. And you just have to ignore those voices. You have to ignore those voices that speak about the consequences. You have to ignore those voices that speak about the possible negative things, and just do it anyway. Depending on how far down you are in the rabbit hole, you have nothing more to lose. When I changed my life, I made a commitment to myself to try. Because I was already at a rock bottom. I was at a point, that I couldn't go to anymore, or if I got any lower than that, I wouldn't be there anymore. So I basically had nothing left to lose. For me, what I did was I just tried to get disciplined first, because I realized that I started with a lot of things that I didn't do. And so one of the first commitments I made to myself was to write every single day, because I enjoyed it. At this point, I was not into self-improvement at all. I wanted to actually write fantasy novels. My path developed from there, but just wrote 500 words a day. That was my commitment to myself. And that's it. I think that and the coach were the only two things that I really committed to at the time, and then more commitments came later. But that was my starting point. It wasn't a lot. And 500 words took me about half an hour to an hour to write. And then the coaching call once a week for an hour, that was it. That was my commitment to myself, which wasn't that high. If you can make more of a commitment to yourself, please do. Because my path was long and rocky and not ideal by any means. You can definitely do it faster than I did. But do something, whatever you can. And then do it, because you deserve an honest try. The third thing that I did was I actually took some time to figure out what it was that I wanted. Whenever that question came up, what do I want out of life? I didn't really consider it. I just based it off of the things that I felt in that moment, right? I want to be rich, I want to be famous, I want to have a nice family, all of those generic things. But I never actually sat down in a quiet room and thought about it. I never actually went inside myself and to see what would come up. And I never questioned what all of those things meant. What kind of family did I want? What kind of success what I was looking for? What does rich even mean to me? And the first thing that I did was I wrote down everything I wanted indiscriminately. So every single thing, no matter how crazy or stupid or out there it was. I think one of the things that I wrote down was I wanted to shoot fireballs out of my hands. Like some fantasy superhero. It didn't matter. Because at that point I just wanted to get it out. It felt like I'd been stuck with all of these things that I wanted inside, and I didn't want to let them out because once they were out I would have had to take responsibility for them. But on the other hand, because I bottled up everything inside so much, it got me to a point where I lived the life that I didn't want to live. And that destroyed me. So even though you may feel more pressure when you put it out into the world, I would still recommend that you put your desires out into the world. Once you figure out what you want, don't let it go. But until then, start writing everything down that you can possibly think of. And then look through, reread it. Don't just write it down and forget about it. Reread it and find the patterns. If you want 16 different jobs, there's likely common themes in those jobs. There's likely something about it that you want. If you enjoy, or if you like the look of 100 different houses and you put them on your Pinterest board, there's likely some things that are in common there. There's always themes going on. And once you can identify those themes, you can more specifically hunt your own desires. And that creates a path. And that path creates progress. That progress creates experiences. And those experiences make you feel like you're doing something with your life. And that avoids all these negative things. So take 30 minutes a week, schedule it, put it in your calendar, and spend that time with yourself. There's actually, in one of the books that's here, called The Prosperous Coach, there is a saying by the authors that says, if everybody were just to talk to a lamppost an hour a day, the world would not have any use for life coaches anymore. And speaking from personal experience, working with a lot of clients, I agree with that. And I know I can say this to everybody watching and will probably not lose any clients, because 99% of you, even after me telling you this, even after me putting this in your face, will still not even take half an hour for yourself. That's where coaching becomes a really good thing, because then you spend money on someone that forces you to spend this time on yourself. Which seems like a really weird thing, but it helps so much for so many people. But that's a side note. The fourth thing I did was I actually started. I actually did some things. Remember the writing commitment that I said? Yeah, I actually did that. And I always say I did it for 365 days straight, but if I remember looking at the calendar on the WordPress where I posted parts of the stories that I was writing, it was not consistent. I eventually finished 365 days, but it wasn't in 365 days. Yet I still took it seriously. I did my best to do it every day. I remember one time, I was still in college at the time when I was making this commitment. I was at a party with my not then girlfriend, who is now my ex-girlfriend, but she was at the party as well, and we weren't dating at that time. And I was completely drunk. Right? German, 20 years old, party, you drink it. I had to make the commitment that every day I would post something worth 500 words or more. It's 11:30 p.m. I was drunk, I was at a party. Took out my phone anyway, grabbed a chair, put it in the corner, and started diddle-daddling on my WordPress account on my cell phone. Got a lot of comments about, hey Lucas, life happens offline, get off your phone, what are you doing? And I just smiled and said yes, and I kept writing, and I posted it after I finished writing. It took about 20 minutes, and I reread it the next day, and it was complete crap. It was clear that, yeah, maybe not that I was drunk, but something was off. The point to the story is that I still did some things. And I don't need you to go to those extremes. I don't need you to go to any extremes. What I need you to do is do what you can. There's a very common thing that I think I've said in a couple of videos at this point, which is anything worth doing is worth doing poorly. If you can't muster out the energy to go for a run, go for a walk. If you can't do a walk, step outside for a minute. If you can't step outside for a minute, do 2 minutes of stretches. If you can't do 2 minutes of stretches, then just stretch right now a little bit. You're watching a self-improvement video. That has to account for something. Whatever you can do. The more, the better. The bigger, the better. But if you can't do a lot of big or a lot of things in general, then do what you can anyway. You can see by my uploads that I'm not even consistent, even at this point. I'm doing what I can. But even that is not perfect. And that's not what it's about. It's about whatever hits you can get in. For now, start. Do what you can. Do anything you can. Even if it's just cleaning, drinking a little bit more water, stretching a little bit. Everything matters. Everything counts. Especially if you're feeling pretty lost. And the last thing that I did that I would highly recommend to you is not to chase goals. Don't chase benchmarks. Don't chase fitness goals. Don't chase money goals. Don't chase anything like that. Chase improvements. Just try to improve a little bit. If one of the things that you commit to is learning the piano, then just try to play it better. Not even better than you did yesterday, but better than you did last month. Better than you did at the beginning of the year. Just a little better. If you maybe right now, even with your New Year's resolutions, maybe you've given up on them already. Restart them. Restart them right now, because that would mean that you did more than you did last year. And that's an improvement. Life doesn't change from today to tomorrow. You don't have to make improvements tomorrow based on today. That's a lot. And if you just change by 1% every day, I think cumulative you increase like by 36 times over the course of a year or something like that. It's ridiculous. And then if in 2 years you increase by like 2,000 times. No one does that kind of improvement. All you need to do is change by 0.00001%. And even that is enough for you to become multiple times better within a 10-year time frame. My math is not that good. Don't hold me accountable to those numbers. But the point is that a little bit goes a long way. But you have to focus on improving. Don't just do things for the sake of doing them. Do more things for the sake of improving them. When you write to learn how to write. When you learn a language, when you work at your work to improve yourself. Work to grow. Do things to be better at them. Not by much, but by enough so that you feel like you're making progress. Because then you get to reap some more rewards. The more you improve in more areas of your life, the more things will start to fall into place. I've said this in so many things, but it's the little things that add up, and once they add up, they start an avalanche. If you feel good about doing one thing, you'll want to do another thing. And you have two things that you feel good about, that makes you want to do two more things. And 4 things that you feel good about. Now you want to do 4 more things. It's an exponential cycle. And if you feel physically healthy, if you've slept well, you know your day goes better. If you feel physically healthy, you want to expend more energy. If you feel emotionally healthy, you maybe talk to your friends better, and then they talk to you better, and it just cycles. The same way negativity cycles. So for now, work on improving. Personally, I started to meditate. I used journals. I started to track my habits, and I've not done any of these things consistently. I'm really bad about being consistent. Even on my Duolingo right now, I think I'm at a 23-day streak with 2 days frozen. So I would have failed it 2 times already. But that's not what matters. Right? I did it to try to improve. And it's slowly but surely been getting better. And that's what matters. So work on that. Learn. Grow, improve. Do what you can. And I hope that these 5, so I'm going to actually summarize these 5 things once more. First, I got help. And then I made a commitment to myself. I spent time figuring out what I really wanted. I started, and I focused on improvements rather than goals. And if you do these 5 things, I'm sure your life will get better. And yes, they are in order of priority, so meaning the first thing is get some help. I don't care what you do, depending on how bad it is, it's even more important, but don't go at it alone. Worst case scenario, if you don't have the money or the time, write a comment below. Send me a message. I am a resource. If your life is crap, let me know and I will see what I can do. You're not alone. Your life doesn't have to be that miserable. You can turn it all around and love your life again. These 5 steps helped me. I hope they can help you too. And with that being said, thank you for watching. I know this was a bit of a longer video. Thanks to everybody who stuck through. And I hope they help. See you in the next video.